week ago, I made a Plenty of Fish account to see what kind of women I'd match with. This was my first time using any sort of online dating app. I took the time and really went into detail in my About Me section of my profile, as it was explained to me that if I elaborated enough on my interests and hobbies, I'd be matched with someone more compatible. Once I completed my About Me section, my curiosity got the best of me, so I began the tedious search for a potential match. After an hour or so of skimming through a wide selection of below-average looking women to some out of my league, I put down my phone and went about my errands for the day. Around 9 or 10 PM, after feasting on an amazing chicken cutlet sandwich I had made, I received an unexpected notification on my phone. I checked, and to my surprise, I was messaged by a girl with the online profile name of I See You Baby. She had written to me, "Hey handsome," with a winky face. I was pretty excited that someone had reviewed my profile and attempted to reach out to me, so I quickly scanned her profile to see that she hadn't even written anything about herself. I was curious as to why, but I figured I'd just ask her in conversation. She had only one picture of herself on the site, which showed me she was smaller than I was, and very curvy. Cute, but not really my type to consider dating. However, fate tempted me, and so I responded to her message. We began with formalities, then asked each other what our goals and aspirations were for the future. Her name was Elaine, and was studying criminal justice at Buffalo State University. She showed a lot of interest in me and kept calling me Mr. Handsome, and eventually asked for my personal cell phone number. With no hesitation, I gave it to her, and it ended up being a horrible decision. Elaine immediately began to text message me relentlessly. At first it was flattering that she was showing me all of this attention, but then she started to become overbearing. We had only just begun messaging each other an hour prior. Around 1 AM, after being exhausted from my own politeness in answering all of her messages one after another, I decided to call it a night and told Elaine that I'd talk to her the next day. She didn't like that and responded, "Don't go to sleep, handsome. You can't leave me by myself. I'm not tired." She said, Hey you there, babe?" It didn't stop. I became aggravated that this one particular girl couldn't take a hint, so I silenced my phone and went to sleep with my phone beside my head. I woke up in the middle of the night, startled to hear what sounded like breathing or movement. As I opened my eyes, to my horror, there she was, on my iPhone screen, staring at me. Somehow, she was able to use FaceTime to call me, and during my sleep, in a groggy state, with my phone by my head, I must have answered the call. That's what I got for sleeping with my phone resting on my cheek. The girl on the screen wasn't the same person I saw on Elaine's online profile. They had pale and sweaty skin. I could tell their hair was black, very sloppy and greasy, but I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. Their voice seemed ambiguously fake. They stared and stared, then finally told me in the most haunting way,
"You're so handsome when you sleep. Why don't you sleep with me?"
I quickly ended the phone call and proceeded to block her, and then deleted my Plenty of Fish account. I vow never to use any online dating website ever again. A few years ago, I was on a dating site where I matched with a police officer. I thought his dog was cute and figured this was my opportunity to finally meet a canine police dog. I was quickly disinterested after listening to him complain about his recent divorce. I don't recall the details, but I remembered it was very apparent that he was the problematic person in that relationship. I was also really grossed out by how he fetishized me for my big sloppers, tattoos, and colourful hair. I was very upfront and told him I wasn't interested and that he was setting off some red flags for me. He begged me to give him a chance, but I said no and blocked his number. A few days later, I got a knock on my door at around midnight. My heart dropped, it startled me so much. I looked out my peephole and saw a stranger holding food. It was an Uber Eats delivery driver. I told him through the door I didn't order food, but he said someone else ordered it and he knew my name. I asked who ordered it and he said a name I didn't recognize. I told him I don't want the food and gave him directions to the dumpster to throw the food out, because at this point, I have no idea if he is actually from Uber. Later on, I'm going through my dating app matches and realized it was the cop's name. I went through my blocked messages and this guy had texted me a lot. The last text read, "I hope you liked your dinner." I decided it was best I unblock this man so I could keep an eye on what he was saying, just in case I needed to be worried about my safety, or if I was going to need to buy some bear mace to drop a cop. A few weeks later, I was at work. I'm a hairstylist, and I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered because I assumed it was a new client. The voice on the other line said,
Hey Rachel, I'm at Starbucks across the street. What's your drink order?
I asked, "Who is this? I don't have you in my appointment book," assuming it was a regular and I made a scheduling error. He said his name, and again, my heart dropped. How did he know where I work? I asked him how he knew where I lived and worked, and he explained that he did a reverse image search on photos from my dating profile, found my social media and my Yelp page from my salon, then looked up my address from there. I told him I'm going to call his station and report him for stalking, and if he ever came near me, I would consider it a threat and would be ready to physically defend myself. After all of that, he still begged me to give him a chance. I hung up, called the police station he worked for, and complained. But they wouldn't even let me email screenshots of the creepy text. I could tell nothing would be done. The lady literally said,
Oh, I'm sorry, he's going through a lot right now.
treating him like he was the victim. After that, he mostly left me alone, but I was so scared living by myself for the first time in my life. I have a semi-popular meme page on Instagram with about 8,000 followers. I sifted through and found about 5 of his accounts. I blocked them and moved on. This was several years ago, but all these memories came flooding back when I noticed a familiar profile photo on an account who commented on a post. I must have missed an account of his when blocking. I had posted a photo of me holding 2 big tunas I caught on a fishing trip, and he commented, "God, I wish I was one of those fish. I'd love to know what it's like to be held by you." After a painful breakup, I decided to try Tinder and Bumble. I had gone on a few dates on both, and everything went fine. This one guy on Tinder seemed nice enough. He was attractive, intelligent, and a school teacher in the area. We talked for 2 weeks before the idea of a date came up, but he said he had been in a recent car accident, leading to him getting a concussion. He was then advised against any unnecessary driving for at least a month. As a person in the medical field, this checked out. We talked for about 2 months as he was healing, and then finally had our first date. We had lunch at a place he picked. It was fine, the food was good, and the alcohol selection was nice. He was rude to the waitress, which put him in the negative, and it took the waitress 4 rounds of attempts asking for our drinks order before he finally ordered, which was strange. After lunch, he asked if I would take a walk with him through a park that wasn't too far away. I agreed, and we drove there separately. It was about 1 mile away. We walked through the park until we came upon a set of swings. I beelined for them because I love swings, and there was no one else in the park. As I was happily swinging, he stood there watching me. Finally, he asked me, "Hey, what do you think would happen if you were to die right now? How would you feel?" Not quite taking his question seriously, I laughed, feeling happy and content, swinging. I would be happy, I guess. And then he asked, well, what would you feel if someone made that happen? Now I was creeped out, so I asked what he meant, and he elaborated. How would you feel if I were to make you crack your head as you fell off the swings? That's all the specifics I remember, because what followed was this guy describing how he would kill and torture me in detail. I don't remember the specifics, I just remember thinking, oh god, there's no one here, let's just keep him happy, and agreeing to certain words like scream, pain, and big. Finally, a family started descending down the hill towards us, and I booked it. Him at my heels blubbering on about killing me. I eventually reached my car. There was a full-on audience at this point, and he leaned in towards me and said, "You are not leaving." I flinched away from him and jumped into my car. He straightened up, ran to his car, and left. I tried to report him on Tinder, but he had already deleted his account. He never told me his last name. He explicitly wouldn't when I asked him that day. 2 weeks later, he sent me a text saying my manners were horrible and that my swing set banter was terrible. I blocked him and had nightmares for weeks afterwards.